Hello, boys and girls. This is your old friend RJ City, and this is the Hollywood Squared Circle, where we talk about wrestling episodes of non-wrestling shows, and today we are talking about City Guys Season 3, Episode 10, entitled Trainmania. For those of you who don't know, City Guys aired on NBC from 1997 to 2001, spanning 5 seasons of 105 episodes. It was created by Peter Engel, who also created Saved by the Bell, and it was literally an inner city version of Saved by the Bell, chronicling the comings and goings of friends at a Manhattan high school. It starred Wesley Jonathan as Jamal, Scott White as Chris, Caitlin Mowry as Dawn, Dion Bosco as Al Rocket, Marissa Diane as Cassidy, Stephen Daniel as L Train, and Marcella Lowry as the principal, who of course also played Grandma Jenkins, the mailwoman, in Ghost Rider. It also has a theme song that I've never forgot the opening of. C-I-T-Y, you can see why. It's so catchy. The special wrestling guest star in this episode is Rob Van Dam. And considering this came out in the year 2000, it's so weird to see an ECW wrestler on an NBC show. There are 3 other wrestlers in this episode that I was completely unable to find information on. Aaron Baker, Mike Henderson, and Justin Sane. There's been like 23 wrestlers called Justin Sane. The promoter was played by Tom Astor. The trainer was played by Rick Drayson. The announcer was played by Jerry Hawk. And the referee is sadly not Gene LaBelle, but some guy named Dane Darwell. What a shame. Anyway, this is what happens in the episode. It opens with all the kids at school roughhousing, pro wrestling style, although they've never done that in any episode before this. Then the principal comes by and she's like, "Hey, what are you kids doing? This is not Raw." Because I guess all of a sudden everyone's a wrestling fan. And then Jamal is like, Rob Van Dam and a couple wrestlers are actually training in a ring at my gym for the big fundraiser. Now, I don't know why you would need to train for a fundraiser, but the name of the promotion is also PWF, the Pro Wrestling Federation. How on the nose? So they go to the gym and check it out, and they see RVD training with this other guy, and RVD completely botches his Rolling Thunder move. He rolls way too close to the guy, and when he stands up, he basically stands on the guy's arm, and then stops short, stutters, and then just hits a splash. Yet, these are not wrestling people directing this or editing this, so they leave it in. And then L Train sees RVD getting beat up, and I guess L Train is the only one who still thinks pro wrestling is real, because he jumps in the ring and saves RVD, starts kicking this other guy's ass, and he pins him. And then RVD is like, "What the fuck, man? This is fake." But then the promoter comes up and he's like, "Impressive moves, kid. How would you like to team with RVD at the big fundraiser? And I'll give you $500. First of all, how is this a fundraiser if you're just walking around randomly hiring and paying whoever you want? And number 2, $500 is not a realistic price for your first match on the indies. But the match is set, and now L Train is training. And him and RVD go on to the high school radio show to promote the match, because you know how many people are listening to that. However, L Train has also promised to volunteer with this Big Brother group where you teach kids how to read and take them on trips and shit. But he also has to still train, so what does he do? He takes the group of kids to training. Now, I will say this. L Train is actually by far the best sitcom actor who tried to wrestle I have seen to date. He clearly knows wrestling, learned the moves, and he's actually somewhat athletic. But when he's training, he'll roll around in the ring for a minute, and then he'll roll out and start telling a story to the kids, and then roll back in and get his ass kicked, and then roll back out all hurt and out of breath and continue to tell the story. How is anyone putting up with this? And then he has to take the kids on a field trip, but he still has to train, so he actually cancels on the field trip. And the main kid, little Stevie, he's all upset. So L Train's like, "You know what, little Stevie? Why don't you forget about that? Why don't you come to the wrestling show?" So then at the show, it's RVD and L Train against the Fighting Frenelli brothers, who have made zero effort to look remotely Italian. RVD and L Train are holding their own, and since almost everyone in this match is an actual wrestler, and the one guy who's not a wrestler is actually doing a good job, it's not a bad match at all. But then L Train gets distracted by Little Stevie because Little Stevie's way too into the match, and L Train goes, "Hey man, that ain't right." But then next thing you know, L Train is dragged back into the ring and beaten by the Frenelli's finishing move, which is like a sidewalk slam leg drop combo. Classic Frenelli's. And then after the match, the promoter's like, "Great job, L Train, here's your $500. And promoters never give up money that easily. And then the promoter wants to book a rematch, but L Train's like, "Nah man, I'm good. I think I'm retired." And then Little Stevie's like, "You're so good, why did you retire?" And then L Train's like, "I didn't like seeing the negative influence the violence of wrestling had on you." So then he decides to stop wrestling and just hang out with this kid. And that's the episode. So first of all, again, the wrestling in this episode is very good, so I was quite impressed, and also, this is probably the only time in sitcom history did anyone try to address the negative consequences professional wrestling can have on a child. I just really wanted more comedically from Rob Van Dam. Well, that was the L Trainmania episode of City Guys. This has been the Hollywood Squared Circle, and I have completely wasted your time.
Guests of the RJ City Show, subscribe to his channel, follow him on social media, and buy his t-shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/RJ City.